This is peace and quiet at Crickheath. 200 years ago, this was one of the busiest places on the Montgomery Canal. A wharf down there bringing limestone in from Whitehaven quarries on a tramway to offload into the canal boats. A wharf up on the other side of the bridge loading coal. It's going to become a destination once again because this is an area where the canal is wide because of these wharfs, and this is an area where boats can turn around. In other words, it's a canal winding hole. The trouble is, it needs restoring for the last couple of bridge lengths before we get to Crickheath. And that's what the Waterways Recovery Group has been working on throughout August 2011. Mike Palmer is their chairman, and he's been here on the Montgomery Canal lots of times over the years.
We've worked on and off here for a variety of reasons, but we have put an awful lot of effort in. Usually when we find a specific project we can attach ourselves to, so Aston Nature Reserve and Aston Locks, and obviously Frankton, and now pretty much here the works at Crickheath, sort of south of the bridge, we're kind of piling into, and we're very much hoping to put a significant effort into here, certainly.
You don't seem to have any problem getting volunteers to come on the work camps, but what about the financing of it? That's the crux of it, really.
Yes, the volunteers are free, so we tend to kind of not include them in the financing element. Obviously, everyone here is putting in a degree of match funding with their effort, and that always helps us get funding. But yeah, fundamentally, we're all right with this. We're using legacy funds that have been left to us to actually enable these trial works. What we're going to do after that, we're not quite sure. We are going to need some quite major funding, but one of the reasons we wanted to do this with our own money was it kind of enabled us to experiment a bit and make some mistakes, discover, learn a lot of lessons, so that what we hope we are going to be able to offer our funders when we go to them next year is say we can definitely give a very high value for money trial session and get some decent length of canal in.
The WRG's Alan Jarvis has spent 29 days here at the Crickheath camp trying to establish a workable system of rebuilding the Montgomery Canal. Has that been achieved?
Yes, it has. There are things that we've achieved and things that we might have wished to be a little different, but the things that we've achieved, we have got a system that we and our design engineers are happy with. We've demonstrated that we can install it. There's a very small amount of detail to be solved at water level, but that will end today, and we will then have a system that at least at a first stage is proven as a technique. The second stage will be when we leave it for a year and come back and find that nothing has subsided or anything else.
You're on your 29th day, you were telling me, of
so
this.
It feels
you must
like
have
it.
enjoyed it, and I've admitted it. You know,
Yeah,
it's hard work.
Of course I've enjoyed it, yes, but I do have a real world job which I've been somewhat neglecting, and I'm anxious to get back to that. So in a sense I'm counting the days to getting off site in order to get back and do some of my proper work. But yes, it's always enjoyable, and you know, WERG is a lovely bunch of people to work with. They're happy, they're friendly, and there's a good social life. So yes, it is enjoyable.
Dom Smythe is here from London and, along with all the others, sleeps on the floor of Portherwine Hall.
Have a shower, then we got a dedicated chef who cooks for us every night. Lovely food.
And then you go to sleep?
No,
I can't believe that.
No, then there's a beer o'clock called. That's after a set time we can have a drink.
Yeah.
Or if we're not doing that, then they organise activities, like we went bowling the other night.
Right.
They talked about canoeing this evening. We went out to a farm last night just to see some pigs, and where Lou, the chef, works.
That's a new experience for you, obviously, in London. You don't get a lot of pigs in London, I imagine.
No, not really, only on the plate, yeah.
Enthusiastic volunteers like Dom have been helping restore the Montgomery Canal since the famous Big Dig in Welshpool over 40 years ago. And the chairman of the Montgomery Waterway Restoration Trust, Michael Limbry of Oswestry, has also been involved for most of that time.
We've got half the canal open, and 40 years ago none of it was open, so there's a lot that's been achieved, but with the support of local authorities, British Waterways, and of course the volunteers. If the volunteers can get the waterway navigable back here to Crickheath, then we've got to the next winding point, and that's their ambition for the Shropshire Union Canal Society and Waterways Recovery Group. From here on, it's 2.5 miles down to the water on the length into Llanymynech. And yes, it does need serious funding. It's a stretch that's been dry for 50 years or more, and it does need a lot of work doing to it. Perhaps the work that's being done here will show how that can be done, but ideally, of course, serious funding would enable us to engage contractors, and that's the purpose of the bids that are being prepared for next year.
So British Waterways are actually working on putting a bid in at the moment,
Oh,
aren't they,
indeed,
for
yes.
the beginning of 2012?
Yes, yes. Bids to the Heritage Lottery Fund and to a European fund as well. So the two hopefully will enable us to make serious progress with nature reserves, which are an important part of the restoration, and at the same time to do some work on the channel.